Right, well, good evening, everyone, and good evening to the members of the public who'll come along tonight. Welcome to tonight's Operations and Assets Committee meeting. This date, September the 30th. We always start our meetings with public questions, and I've got a couple listed here. So, first of all, I'd like to invite Roger. Roger House to, if you'd like to put 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. This is reference to agenda item 7, the management policy and plan, page 37, and strategic objective 2, and that's about assets that are fit for purpose, compliance with legislation like health and safety regulations. And the first bit is seats by us. Friends Group in 2018 installed oak bench seats around the main active sports area of the park. An old seat had been broken. SW&T Council couldn't afford another, so we stepped in to the breach, and at no cost to the council, we installed 3 new seats. These enabled less able walkers, with or without their dogs, to have a short rest before continuing the park circuit. In May, during the travellers' occupation, 1 seat was wrenched out the ground and burnt on a campfire. We wrote to the council to say we would fund an exact replacement as the Friends Agreement clause 5.2 on projects. Wingham and Southampton produced an identical seat to ours for £183, including VAT. However, a new volunteer offered to make us this joinery in his joinery workshop. It looked professional, and we sent a photo to this council asking if we could work together to fix it. 16 days after our first letter at our committee meeting, an officer explained our seat was rejected on health and safety issues. Local taxpayers would fund the Glaston bench instead. When we later researched means BSEN 581 2017, which covers outdoor furniture and seating and includes prototype testing for performance, removes the risk from officers. Not feasible to do for a one-off seat. Your current document is pretty dull reading. Perhaps a remedy after this clause is the example in italics of what not to do. Describe our Victoria Park seat rejection. Serve as a warning to anyone wishing to make a local craftsman memorial seat or any other fixture for TCC's land in the future. And those seats by you. The document in multiple places suggests you meet requirements of accessibility for all. At our last meeting, members were pretty livid at 3 recent new seats fitted by TTC. With regard to seat heights, our group had heard complaints from other older people. We are a group of members who use mobility scooters, walkers, or walking sticks, so we know how many people have difficulty in using the seats. Issue is the low seat height, also no arms to aid getting up. We previously sent in 2 pages of comments on seat heights by lobby group Wheels for Wellbeing. They have referenced BS 8300 and HCSE Guidance HG 57 on accessibility. These documents and your BS 581 recommend seat heights are between 380 and 480 millimetres. And where several seats are installed, a range of heights is used. And the 3 latest TC sites are all installed low at the bottom end, 380. This, to us, this means not following DDA rules to benefit all park users. Enclosed again, Wheels for Wellbeing document, which I've left behind, but I will forward on to Marcus, sorry. Please can this be reviewed for any future seat installations? So we're not all the same. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Roger, and well done. Bang on time there. Yes, we will pass this on to our operations and assets team and have a look at that. As you rightly say, our strategic objective 2 is about fit for purpose and compliance. We will pass that on and our team look at it.
Yep.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. Next I have on my list is Brendan Lloyd. Now, you'd like to speak on both the ice cream parlour and the toilets.
Yes.
Yes. You're allowed to take them in turn and have 3 minutes on each.
I think I'll probably do it in under 3 minutes.
That'd be lovely.
My name is Brendan Floyd. I'm the treasurer of Coach, the building that is in French Weir Park. It is essentially a village hall that has a rowing club, a canoeing club and a cafe. So, councillors, this evening I implore you to vote against further development in French Weir Park and also to continue servicing and maintaining public conveniences. Regards the ice cream shop, Coach strongly opposes this development. Here's why. The proposed location would ruin the natural vista of the park. The applicant claims it will be open all year round and only serve soft scoop ice cream, but we would question the credibility of this. The Weir Cafe helps fund the community activities of Coach. This new shop could undermine the financial stability of Coach. We fear the container will be active for just 3 months of the year, serving soft scoop ice cream, then become a graffiti covered urine soaked eyesore attracting antisocial behaviour for 9 months of the year. Please remember that Vivery Park, which has a very similar ice cream stand, has its gates locked at dusk. French Weir does not and continues to be a thoroughfare late into the night. The site is a key route for children walking to Northtown and the Northtown School and Castle School. Parents should not have to deal with daily ice cream nagging. This development goes against Taunton Town Council's commitment to the Fields in Trust, which protects French Weir from further development. This could be a thin end of the wedge development. It will be difficult to stop further development if this development goes ahead, as there's a power line running down the side of the path, which would easily be developed all the way down. The headlines tomorrow could read, Liberal Democrats sacrifice green space so kids and councillors pile on the pounds. Regards the servicing and maintaining of the toilets, French Weir has become a destination park, attracting visitors throughout the year, throughout the day and evening. The Weir Cafe closes at 3 p.m. In the winter and 4 p.m. in summer. The need for accessible toilets continues well beyond those hours. Only Taunton Town Council has the capacity to provide this service properly. Taunton Town Council already manages public conveniences across the town. They have the experience and economies of scale to do this far more efficiently and affordably than Coach ever could. Sometimes we wonder, would things be different if we changed the sign above the door to French Weir Village Hall, a name that better reflects the community role that Coach plays? A village hall being forced to provide public conveniences is clearly preposterous. In summary, Coach is operating on a financial knife edge. If Taunton Town Council withdraws support, the consequences may well be severe. Reduced cafe revenue from competing enterprises, rising costs from extra cleaning costs will lead inevitably to insolvency. What happens then? Are we to have a derelict building in the heart of French Weir Park? Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to put forward your view, and they will be taken into consideration as we're talking. So when you say packing the pounds, are you referring to currency or calorific?
Well, calorific for the children and currency for the councillors, obviously.
Yeah.
It is a pun.
Okay, right. I think now we have one other speaker, which is Gareth, who is the proposer for the ice cream parlour. But I'm going to ask him to speak ahead of the agenda item, and councillors will have the opportunity to question him directly. You have to do that. Yes.
I'm representing Friends of French Weir, so I believe I'll be able to speak this evening.
Right. Yes, you may speak.
But obviously, when
yeah, within our 15 minutes. Yes. Yeah. Sorry, can I take your name again? Sorry?
James.
James, that's it. Yes, James, you have 3 minutes.
Right, thank you. So, as a representative of Friends of French Weir, our chair has actually emailed you all the full details, and we are time sort of limited today. So, in line with Coach, we oppose any sort of ice cream shop container coming into French Weir itself. The location, it's not fit for purpose in respect of the way the park is, from a natural beauty, from a path, sort of destroying the grass, but also blocking the paths themselves. As has already been stated, it would go against the fact that there is an established business there already, and how they help us certainly with fun days, and that community spirit would be a detriment to them. We think that it's unsightly in itself, and it could there again, be covered in graffiti. Whilst as a park as a whole, we've been very lucky in not having graffiti. There is a little bit on one of the benches, and what we wouldn't want is a door to be opened to more of that. Being an active person in the park, and certainly from a litter picking point of view, we would worry about the increased amount of litter coming into the park. Certainly over the summer months, we do note that the bins do get to capacity already. So we would question how much litter was coming in, but also how that litter generated from would be taken away and whose responsibility that would be as well. From a resident's point, it's not something that we would want, you know, in the park and in an area of natural beauty again. And like has already been stated, we would question if this is just seen as a money-making activity for the council. Since the French Weir, Friends of French Weir was sort of came together again 3 years ago, we have strived hard to create an area of community and for families to come in the park. And whilst we're not saying that something like an ice cream business, you know, is something that would good, having a container and something like that just, you know, isn't what we want. And then finally, we as a Friends group feel that we have been a little bit ignored, you know, recently when it comes to decisions that the council have made in respect of where the bins have gone and bollards. And we believe that this would just be a nail in the coffin where our voice isn't being heard and decisions are being made from a cash point of view rather than a community spirited point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. And I think that's it.
I apologize.
You didn't want to speak, did you?
Are members of the public allowed to speak?
Well, we're still in 15
Yeah.
something. Yeah. I mean, have your name?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Pasha. I live on French Weir Avenue. I'm also a partner at the French Weir Surgery, which
Okay.
backs onto the park.
Yeah.
So I just want to take a minute. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I would just like to suggest and a lot of my staff members, we have 75 members of staff, and during our lunch, we like to go out for a walk in the park. My only objection that I would like to raise to this proposal is the location of it. As soon as you walk into French Weir, we all look up and we just see green. So if we can work out a way to sort out the location of it, to not break that vista, that is the main thing. We are so lucky where we live in Taunton to have such a beautiful, well-maintained park right there in the centre, to have that view. I think the financial gain to the council is needed. However, we can work out ways to make it suitable to all the residents, the existing business, which is Coach, which does fantastic for us. But I think the main issue that I would like to raise is the location of it and how that breaks the view as soon as you come into it. So I just wanted to highlight that, because it is really important for us as our staff and everyone who lives in the neighbourhood to just be able to walk in and look up every lunch and just see green. It's phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your comments. Right. I think there's well, it's a couple of minutes, but it's the gentleman at the back wanting to speak. Okay, so I think we've come to the end of our public time, so I can now officially declare our meeting is begun. So first of all, Ollie, have we received any apologies? Item 1.
No, Chair.
No. Okay. Right. Item 2. Do we have any declarations of interest?
I always end up saying as I'm a volunteer for Friends of French Weir Park in case that is relevant.
Has written it down. Okay. Item 3, the minutes of the last meeting. Is anyone happy for me to sign them as an accurate of the meeting on the 30th of July? Anyone got?
I wasn't here.
You weren't here?
I was absent.
Okay.
The council vote on the minute.
You may have lost the recording.
I have read them. I have read the minutes. I have read the minutes.
Any other comments? No? In that case, can I have, well, I propose, thank you, Councillor Ellis. All those in favour? Okay, so I shall sign the minutes. Shall I do that at the end of the meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, next item. Item 4 is the forward plan. actually, I was looking on the website this afternoon, and I didn't see our 27th of November meeting on the website. Worth checking.
Okay.
And looks like it's still to be filled out. Anyone got any comments they'd like to make?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Okay. Now, for tonight's meeting, and in light of that, we have so many people here who've made the effort to come and visit us and talk about this one specific item. I thought I'd move the French Weir concessionary inquiry to the first one, and then we can, and then we'll do the French Weir toilets second, and then after that you'll be free to leave, stay as you wish. Okay, so are we all happy with that? Yeah. Okay, now for this, do I have to suspend?
You can do, but obviously this
Yeah.
person.
So I'm going to invite Gareth, whose proposal it is to put in this ice cream parlour in French Weir, to have his 3 minutes now, and then be available for questioning by councillors directly. During that time, you need to ask Gareth a question. You can. I'm afraid members of the public won't be able to ask questions because Gareth is the proposer of this agenda item, I guess, isn't it really? So I do apologise for that, but councillors will be able to ask you any questions. Gareth, would you like to have the 3 minutes?
Oh, hi. So I'm not going to talk about the ins and outs, so hopefully everyone's read the proposal. You've seen all the information. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a family man. I used to park regularly with my wife, my 4-year-old daughter, my young nieces and nephews. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not out to make a quick buck. I see this as an asset that the whole community will benefit from. It would be maintained and utilised to the highest standard. I've worked meticulously to tick every box possible, which hopefully you can see that's detailed in the proposal. Anyone who knows me will know I'm not a malicious person and have a good relationship with the owners of the Weir Cafe. I met with the owners on Sunday, who wished me good luck, and said if this did go ahead, we could point customers in each other's direction and work together. I certainly would not be investing all this time, money and effort to leave the business empty for 9 months of the year. We're almost in October and it's still 18 degrees outside. The business would remain open to its maximum potential. A couple of things I added at the end. There's no litter with scooped ice cream. It's not infringing the path. For the word unsightly mentioned, it would look no different than the appearance of the coach building, but with the green roof of the living roof. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess my first question would be, why have you chosen French Weir Park?
I think it's it would be there's financial risk, and it's if it's going to work, I think French Weir has the community and location for it to work.
I think there'll be many questions coming. I think I'm happy to open up to the floor. Councillor Ellis.
Hello, I grew up in Northtown. I'm the councillor for Northtown. I channel Northtown and Northtown's views. And I'm afraid I'm strongly opposed to putting any kind of shipping in container. It wouldn't matter what we're popping in there on our park. And the reason is I campaigned, it took a number of years for a number of our parks, including French Weir, to get fields and trust protection, because a number of our parks have been at risk from overdevelopment, and that includes French Weir, because at one point the previous managers of coach wanted to kind of privatise like part of the riverbank, and we needed something to safeguard against that. And we have a big building already in French Weir. We have the coach building, which is That's enough building, in my view. French Weir, if you grew up here, I mean, it's an incredible green space. It's a place to go to recharge. You take in the gorgeous views along the sort of, you know, the avenues of trees and the greenery. It's a place to go and meet friends. It's a place to exercise. People have mentioned about children coming into the park. Well, I run a home education group. We have social gatherings there. We have a sports day there. So I'm speaking from this sort of point of view about somebody who's grown up always having this space and who has to listen to the whole, you know, views of the community. And I haven't heard, nobody in my community is in favour of this. It's all, I'm getting a barrage of negative reactions. But then we did say, I think when we were in your communication with the Friends group, that they were very like, don't think this is a good idea. And I think I said early on as well, this isn't, no, just no. My view on that hasn't changed. If anything, it's got stronger. It's a beautiful park. We need to preserve the green space and that sense of openness and the vista, so that you can see green, you can see trees, and you're not having random buildings in various locations sort of plonked. In this case, it would be on the green space, right where we do our sports day. I'm trying to visualize all the families sitting around and me trying to drag children away from the ice cream thing, and ice creams flying when they're doing their races and stuff. So if you want an ice cream, you can get an ice cream. You can get an ice cream at the Weir Cafe if you so choose. I don't see that we need more ice cream. And if we did need more ice cream, it'd be way better to allow a little ice cream, you know, traditional ice cream van to come in. And then you have none of the problems and issues about putting a permanent or semi-permanent shipping container building on green space, right on the playing field. And it's going to be facing in, so you have all these queues. Even if it was facing the other way, that would be bad because it would be blocking the path. But here you're going to have people, you know, on the grass, and it's going to be, it's just not a good fit for French Weir. It really isn't. And that's why there's been a very strong reaction to it, because we're very emotionally attached to our green space. We really are, as you probably picked up on. And it's for a good reason. We've got to preserve the green space. And you know, the Weir sound remarkably relaxed, but I wouldn't be if I was them, because you'll pretty soon realise that there's not I don't need an ice cream when I go for a swim. If I was going to do yoga, I don't need an ice cream. If I'm going to do like the line dancing in the summer or go to litter picking, I don't need an ice cream to do that. That's not going to be the first thing on my mind. I don't need an ice cream, and it's not a very, you know, healthy eating option. It's not going to help you do sports and exercise at all. It's not a nutritional food unless you're Councillor Ellis and make your own with bananas and stuff and fresh fruit, and otherwise it's not really a nutritional food. So it's just the wrong thing. Now, there may be other places in Taunton that are in need of an ice cream kiosk. There are certainly parks where there's no available cafe or anything, and you're often just desperate to get a coffee from somewhere and you can't. So I think there's lots of opportunities for you elsewhere. But in terms of French Weir, is a field in trust, and it was made a field in trust because people believe passionately. Space for nature. We need to invest more in rewilding it. What we don't want is more buildings, especially buildings for which we don't see a need. And I would echo the concerns of Coach in relation to the viability of Coach, because if the Weir business suffers, that means the charity and the community will suffer. And I echo the concerns of Friends of French Weir. James Appleton is a little genius he just does so much litter picking regularly, you know, week in, week out. You see a load of junk, the next day it's gone. Why, James? He's just sorted it all out. We can't cope. We're already, you know, James and others are already at sort of breaking point in terms of having to deal with all the litter. And I'm assuming you must have some sort of things that will be generating litter. It's just no, not in this space. I'm sure there'd be great opportunities maybe elsewhere, but not on French Weir. Question I have is around planning. So I asked a friend of mine who's a former, he's a local, and he's a former planning officer at Somerset West and Taunton. And I said, you know, is this something that would need planning? And he thinks it probably would need planning consent because French Weir often floods, it's functional floodplain, and also because you're changing the use of the land. So if there was a need for a store to put like park maintenance equipment in, that would be one thing. You might not need planning permission. But a retail type function, he reckoned, is likely to result in a change of use which triggers the need for permission. And that will be very, very, very expensive. So I think that you'd have to look into that wherever you want to do your, you know, if it's a shipping container type thing, I think you'd have to bottom all of that out. But in any case, even if it doesn't need planning, I would, it's very, very dangerous for us to just say, oh yeah, fine, plonk a shipping container in the middle of the park. We know that there's a lot of public opposition, a lot of opposition from my residents, my constituents, and it is a dangerous precedent, because next week it'll be somebody saying pizza. I know, let's have a pizza concession. Let's have that. And what will it be after? It could be all sorts of stuff. And before you know it, these things will be plonked everywhere. That we have to draw the line. And we've got to honour the fields in trust. We've got to protect French Weir against overdevelopment.
Right, thank you very much. I should just point out that in the report, you will still need to get permission from Fields of Trust.
Yep.
And the report does point out that you will still need to get planning permission. I mean, we know that those are still 2 hurdles that you'll have to get. We're not a planning committee here, so I don't think, in light of previous things, we can't make decisions on what will happen with the planning. I don't think we can second guess what they would do. So I think really we ought to perhaps divert ourselves away from the planning issue. That's 2 steps down the line, and that's so really here we're discussing the principle really of whether we're going to allow this to go ahead. Gareth still has major obstacles ahead after whatever we decide to do. Councillor, yes, well, Councillor Hernandez, yeah, that's that. Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I mean, whilst Councillor Ellis, as always, is very passionate about these things, and some of the things that she's actually said, I do agree with. However, other people use French Weir. It's an open park. It's not just, obviously, it is used widely by the residents. I understand that, but a lot of people come onto French Weir because of the facilities that it provides, and I don't think we can put into words. We can't tell, you know, other people might come, they love ice cream, you know, the children love an ice cream on a sunny day, they might choose a playground and then have an ice cream. And I think, you know, the fact it's not just about, you know, I understand it's about the shipping container, I understand that completely, but I think what we can't do is we can't detract from the fact that families do love an ice cream, me included, on whatever day. And I think we can't actually say to people that they can't eat ice cream. I think that, you know, we have to listen to all of the residents that live in our parish town council, not just those of French Weir. So, you know, this is just the beginning, as Chair has said, this is just the beginning of the conversations of the principal. But I noticed that the site is in the corner, so it's tucked away in the corner, and I appreciate what you're saying about the vista. So it may be that, you know, in, again, subject to planning or subject to what happens in decision, maybe the siting of it could be moved to some, you know, in a different place. But again, it depends on those conversations that need to follow this one. And I think litter wise, as you say, if it's just ice creams, it's just cornets, there's not going to be any litter generated. And should there be litter generated, then I guess that you'd have your own bin that you'll collect the litter, and you'd be responsible for that side of things as well.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think we also ought to perhaps stop using the word shipping container, because that does actually conjure up quite an emotive term. If anyone's been to Wellington Monument, I mean, that's a shipping container up there, but it's nicely clad, all wooden, and that is the image that we have been provided with the rooftop as well. So, so I feel that we need to move away from just calling it a shipping container. It's a little pejorative for this discussion. I'm going to ask that question as well, just in case. Sorry, if anyone else is going to ask that. Does it have to be in that corner? Because going back to Dr. Pesci's question, I mean, his main objection was its location, but I'm reading from that he's not against it being there, but just the location. Does it have to be in that corner?
No, I'm flexible. I'm happy to have a discussion.
Okay.
And where to put it. The only thing to consider is the location of the power cable that runs into the path, runs parallel to the path. So that's why I've put it there, so that we're not digging a massive trench across the park to connect it to the grid. But yes, of course I'm flexible and happy to.
Okay. Does your operation require mains electricity?
Yes, because Caroline mentioned ice cream van. I'm trying to move away from a diesel petrol emitting.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
I don't want those fumes. That's not a good environment.
I accept that. Can it be run by battery?
Possibly.
Okay. The battery option. So actually, so the location could be negotiated.
But then I wouldn't be able to recharge the batteries.
You did look to do it in front of the building, didn't you?
Yeah, I did look to get a power supply from the coach, but that wasn't an option.
It wasn't, you thought it right in front of the building might be an appropriate place, but.
Have a shed right in front of the coach. Yes, I think that.
Not in front,
Yeah.
alongside.
Do I have any other questions? I mean, some of the questions I did have is, I mean, will you sell ice cream? You're not going to sell them all year.
No.
Because coming in. So what happens to the container during the winter months when you're not there? How's it being maintained? How are you going to prevent the graffiti, the urine?
I'm local to the park, so I'm not going to spend all this money cladding it. I put CCTV up. I've got my attention to detail. I wouldn't allow someone to graffiti a penis on it and leave it there. It would be covered up within hours.
And I have in the past known that one of the comments made earlier was, of course, Frenchweir Park cannot be locked. So you will have young people there during the night. How will you stop them climbing onto the container? Because we had a container in my park for a few months and it was the main attraction. They ignored the swings and the roundabouts, they just climbed the container. How will you prevent?
So it would be clad, as I've said, and I don't think there's not going to be big handles that people can climb up. It would be a smooth exterior. I mean, kids will climb anything, but it would be, I'd make it as difficult as possible.
Right. Well, I have no other questions. I mean, we are here to consider this in principle. Planning is much further down the line. Fields of trust. Bringing in principle today gives our officers the opportunity to go and research it further. I mean, this isn't agreeing it today. It does not mean to say there'll be an ice cream parlour in the park by tomorrow morning. There's a long process to go. I would just emphasise the fact that you know, Gav came to us as a council with a proposal, a business proposal, and I think as a town council, you know, we need to give people who've got some entrepreneurial spirit, you know, the opportunity to explore that. It's obviously for us as councillors to give the steer on that. That's down for us. It is an opportunity to generate income and revenue for the town council, which of course goes into balancing our books. So this is something to consider. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I just wonder do we agree with Fields and Trust, this part being a Fields and Trust? I think we need to give our heads a bit of a wobble at this point and just understand what we're here for as Liberal Democrats. We're supposed to be protecting green spaces is what we're meant to be about. And so we need to be on guard against overdevelopment. You can already get an ice cream in Frenchweir, Councillor Fernandez. That is not an issue. And also we need to be listening to our communities. Yes, people from all over town flock to Frenchweir, but I've said at the beginning, you need to be mindful of the fact that if you endorse this proposal tonight, you're going against the wishes of the elected member, who got over 65% of the vote, can't remember exactly how much it was, and the local community. I've had representations, not just I've had representations from the rowing club, I've had representations from Swan Pool landscape architects who originally oversaw the redevelopment of French Weir, who were absolutely aghast at the idea that we could even be considering plonking random buildings around the park. It's absolute anathema. So you've got to understand the damage this will do reputationally to the town council in North Town and with the community of park users. This will do a lot of damage.
Yes.
So there was a Facebook post that I thought was quite misleading and inaccurate and mentioned a lot of the negativity, but I made a note of some of the positive comments on there. So one of them was the one in Maiden Park runs perfectly well alongside the station cafe and expands choice. Another comment, good luck to them, the town needs more of this. I think this would be a lovely addition to the park, it will offer more choice. Competition is not a bad thing, there are more than enough people using French Weir who support this. Other comments, marketing evidence repeatedly shows several outlets selling similar or a variety of things encourages more people to visit.
I mean, it certainly works in Belvedere Park, the cafe and the ice cream parlour next door to each other. Councillor Fernandez, do you want to say more?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it just to come back on that particular point, it works in Belvedere Park because it's locked in, so I think it's protected. But going back to maybe we should look at a wider consultation of people as regards this. So it's without actually going to every single door in the French Weir area and asking, you know, doing a door-to-door knocking on the door to represent. I'm just conscious that we have to think about all of the people that live within that ward, all of them, not just the stronger voices. And I think we have to be fair to give this a fair proposal, as we've done in the past with other things. You know, we've looked at other things and we've looked at it and we've listened. One of the great things is we listen to everybody. So it's the positives and the negatives. And I think we've just got to be mindful of that and open it up to a wider consultation, bring everything back to the table and make an informed decision based on what we've got. Thank you, Chair.
It would certainly be worth finding out what the Field and Trusts do think, because we don't know they will reject it. And I do take that, yes, I take that point that actually perhaps it is worth doing a wider consultation. As it has been mentioned, French Weir, we had a park review. French Weir was identified as a destination park, a park that serves the whole town. And congratulations to the Friends of French Weir and to coaches. You've made it that. You have made it one of the most popular parks in this town outside French Weir. You're the French Weir, Belvedere Park. You're the Belvedere Park outside Belvedere Park. And so I think you've done a tremendous work and you have made it popular. I mean, going back to the green issue, if it was just a shipping container, probably wouldn't be looking at it, but it's not. I think if you look at the report, Gareth has made every effort to comply with the eco-friendliness of it. They're looking at the grown roof, the wooden cladding. He's gone overboard to make sure it blends in with the environment. Again, the location is possibly not fixed. The location of it. I mean, you know, I mean, I think we would want undertaking that. You know, when if it came to it, we would have to have a very strong, we would call it a memorandum of understanding that, you know, graffiti would be removed, damage would be repaired. So, I mean, I think I'd go with Councillor Fernandez in that it is serving the town. There has been a lot on social media, both ways. I'm afraid French Weir is a park considered by the town to be a very good park and much visited, especially with Long Run next door. I mean, I would propose that we agree to this in principle, but that the town council runs a wider public consultation, that actually we give the wider town the chance to have a say as well. How would I word that? That's far too long.
It covers everything.
It covers everything. So Okay, so thinking about this before, councillors.
I just want to propose that we reject it and we do not build any further on French Weir.
There's a proposal on the table, so you need to obviously
Yeah.
second for that.
So, yes, so our proposal is that we do consider this in principle with a wider consultation amongst the town that the town council runs, and that is obviously at the, with the requiring planning and regulatory consents, and that our officers can go and explore the fields of trust. Certainly get back their views on this. I think it is worth seeing. I mean, it's been cited as an objection, but we don't know what they're going to say. So that's my proposal. That wording.
Do you want to word it as in so it's a bit clearer?
Thank you, Chair. So I think some of these answers will be implicit and outlined in the report. We do say that to capture the whole thing for the clarity of everyone. I mean, there's some wording that you could use. So committee members to consider supporting in principle the proposal for a self-contained ice cream sales kiosk to be sited in French Weir Park, subject to a public consultation exercise, planning and regulatory consent, fields interest approval, and obviously an acceptable rental and cost agreement with the applicant to be approved by councillors in future prior to its implementation.
Okay, so I propose that. Do I have a second? Okay, thank you, Councillor Fernandez. Just to highlight that it would have to come back to committee again. So we're only agreeing in principle. Doesn't mean to say at a later date we'll agree it in detail, but it gives us the opportunity to go and explore what you've done further. It gives our officers the opportunity to go and see what Fields and Trusts will say and planning. So that is the proposal. I've had a seconder. All those in favour? Those against?
Vote carried.
Right. Thank you very much. Right, so we're moving on to the French Weir toilets. If those who've feel they've seen and had enough and wish to leave, or we can stay as you wish. Before we read the report, I'll give you an opportunity to make your mind. Thank you. Right, so the next item, since we're with French Weir, is to have a look at the toilets, item 10. And so we've got two options here on the table. One, to affirm the comments of the letter that we have sent, dated 12th August, with uncompensated maintenance provision coming to an end as from tomorrow. And as expected, and cleansing to also cease from the 1st of April, reverting to the obligations that set out in the original lease, or to take on the locking and unlocking, maintenance and cleansing, including replenishment of consumables of the French Weir public toilets going forward, subject to evidence of whole building compliance with delegated authority given to the deputy clerk, who instructs solicitors to negotiate a formal deed of variation to the existing 125-year lease to reflect these changes in responsibility. Sorry if I have to read it all out, but those are the two options. So Marcus, do you want to?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for this. So I hope members have had a chance to consider the report. Obviously, as I say, under the formation of the council in April 2023, the council assumed liability for the public toilet cleansing contract, which was with ID Verdi at the time, as you may remember, for the public toilets that transferred to the town council under the reorganisation order. This contract ceased in September last year, and the staff to be transferred to Taunton Town Council. Council was made aware that the former Somerset Council Assets manager that there was a 2020 concession made by the previous council, copy of which was included within the letter, Appendix 1, whereby the council assumed responsibility for cleansing and maintenance of the French Road public toilets. This had no legal effect and did not override the tenant covenants in the lease. Somerset Council stated they would honour the arrangement whilst they were managing the ID Valley contract, but its ongoing validity post that was a matter for Taunton Town Council. So hence why bringing it to you tonight for decision. The lease between which Taunton Town Council has inherited between itself and Coach's landowner of French Road Park, that's dated from 1st of December 2015. As I say, there are extracts of that lease included within the committee report there, around specifically relating to the public conveniences, around the tenant ensuring that the public conveniences in the building are available free of charge to members of the public at all reasonable times. So there's been some correspondence, as I say, I think it's referred to by the member of the public and in the submissions from last September around the maintenance, but there has been some inconsistencies, hence why I sent that letter in August to kickstart the discussion again and then bring it to you as councillors for providing and helping us provide clarity on this matter for the benefit of all parties. And there's two options, as I say in the report. I have just pulled together some slides which are up on the screen. Specifically, I want to deal with compliance, which I think just need to be clear that this cannot be moved either partially or into the whole of the town council's responsibility, given we are not the building owner. We must insist on full L8 Legionella compliance for the building for continuing to operate and support their use. There's a range of legislation which governs the town council, the Health and Safety of Work Act, Duty of Care, POSH, Occupiers Liabilities Act. So there's really key aspects of legislation which we need to be satisfied to ensure that we don't expose ourselves to civil liability or criminal prosecution. Coach have supplied evidence. I believe that's been sent in by email and that's being assessed. And if the option is to go with option B tonight, we need to move quickly to understand that evidence and satisfy ourselves as a council that we're happy that they're compliant with the compliance aspects that we need to satisfy ourselves with. Thank you. If you can move to the next slide. So I just want to, I thought it would be easier as a visual demonstration of the split as is. So the current responsibility from the 2020 concession. So our cleansing team go in daily and do 2 times cleansing. We replenish the consumables that are in the 2 toilets there. We undertake low level maintenance such as fixing taps and flush, things like that. Coach have always been responsible for the Legionella aspects, the compliance elements, as I say, the cafe locking and unlocking, which is tied to the cafe opening and closing times. Slide. So option A which is total withdrawal, would move all of those onto the responsibility of Coach. As you're aware, and I think there's been some submissions there from the trustees of Coaches to the impact that they feel this will have on them. But that would be in line with the obligations of the lease that was originally agreed back in 2015. So option B, which is to formalise the unofficial arrangement that's currently in place, either through, as I think I've suggested in the report, pulling together, getting a deed of variation done to the existing lease, or pulling together some form of SLA, service level agreement, between ourselves and Coach. It's currently, as I say, that the only thing that governs this arrangement currently is a letter from previous council 5 years ago. So, you know, it probably is timely that we look to either withdraw or formalise this unofficial and get an understanding of the costs to the council on either option. So option B is daily cleansing times 2, replenishment of consumables, low level maintenance. I think I have said in the letter that I sent in August that could be on a cost recovery basis, given the maintenance does cost the town council, and you know, we don't subsidise maintenance for any other organisations across the town and go in and you know, for example, the Shed Cafe and Goodlands Gardens, we don't maintain their building. That's a tenant responsibility for them. And then obviously there's the locking and unlocking request. If we're reminded to do that as well, we could add that into our responsibilities, leaving the compliance element with Coach. As I say, as I spoke earlier on about the evidence of that whole building compliance needs to be provided on an ongoing basis to the satisfaction of the TTC ops and assets managed. So any agreement we formalise will need to give us the flexibility and to reserve that right to close the facilities or cease all TTC provided activity, given the risks that I've outlined. But hopefully that's a helpful demonstration. Happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So I think just to summarise that, we have two clear issues here. One is, can we really open and close and maintain toilets when we're not in control of its compliance, of what is quite significant risks? It puts ourselves in a reputational risk there. So there is that problem. We have to know that what we're maintaining is compliant and we have no control over the compliance. And the second one is, as Marcus pointed out, is the use of public funds for toilets that we don't actually own. So this is everybody's preset going onto it. So those are two things that we need to consider. So I've got, can I go to Councillor Ellis first? No, I've done it again. I'm so sorry. Oh, did she? In that case, there you go. Councillor Ellis and then Councillor Fernandez.
Right. I may have had something to do with public toilets back in the day, because I was the one that reported to the council that they'd been closed by the previous people who managed Coach, and their argument was, well, we can't, afford to maintain them. And then luckily I showed Pippa Hughes, who was the then officer, who is a brilliant officer, and she worked out that there was some spare money in the ID Verdi contract, so she very quickly moved to say, right, well, we will take over responsibility for cleansing and maintenance. So that's been just over 5 years now that's been the case, and that has now transferred to Taunton Town Council. So people out there know that they're public toilets maintained by Taunton Town Council. Yes, there's the added, complexity of being part of the Coach building and all of that, but to all intents and purposes, they're seen as public toilets. And I think we need to be mindful. I mean, it was a bit odd when Coach was built, there was a sort of because there was a toilet block removed, there was a kind of condition put on that there shall be public toilets maintained. But it's a bit odd sort of trying to make them responsible as opposed to us. Here in this case, I think it's a partnership that we need to have, partnership working. I'm very much in favour of option B, which is maintaining the status quo of the town council, cleaning and doing the maintenance, and ideally also having it on the same opening and closing regime, notwithstanding the issue, compliance issue and whatnot. We have the budget. We have a budget for French Weir. It's not like we're saying, oh, we'll suddenly need to find extra money to clean the toilets and maintain the toilets at French Weir. It's in the budget already. We need to be mindful. When Coach was built, there wasn't quite the level of footfall there is now. It's significantly increased, and that's partly arisen, for example, from us as a town council and others seeking and achieving bathing water for the River Tone. So we manage the area adjacent to Coach, which is the base where people go to bathe. And also we've designated French Weir as a destination park. So we are encouraging higher footfall. And I think the situation therefore is a lot different. So I think that we have there's an added onus on us, as it were, to make sure that we provide public toilets in the park. I think we also, because I think people don't distinguish, that's public toilets, the ones in Vivery in the pavilion are public toilets, the ones at Coach are public toilets. I think we need, as a town council, to ensure consistency. So that could be consistent opening times and closing times, consistent standards across public toilets, whether it's on cleanliness or eco-friendliness, for the benefit of our residents. I think our residents are entitled to expect high standards across the board. People know their council toilets and are used to reporting any issues to the council. So I think it's not helpful to sort of stop that now and say, oh, now it's Coach responsible and it'll be completely split. That will just muddy the waters. I am also very concerned at the impact on Coach, because it would lead to added costs on them. And I know, because I do attend as many of their board meetings as I can, and I keep closely in touch with the trustees, see how they're doing. They brought Coach back from the brink. They are rebuilding it as a real community hub for the first time. I think they're doing an amazing job against the odds. I'm just really worried that now, as they're sort of, still sort of expanding and really dealing with a lot of the long-term problems with the facility that the previous management hadn't dealt with, they are going to face very high costs. So I think at this time, this could have a very negative impact if they were suddenly told, right, you're going to have to clean the toilets and maintain them, and they don't have the capacity to do that at the moment. And I think Brendan referred to, it's much easier for us to do that. We've got economies of scale. It just makes more practical sense, and I think it would be a benefit to our residents. So yeah, I think option B provides the best deal for residents, and I think there's also, Marcus has built in, safeguards for the council in terms of the whole building compliance. So I would strongly commend option B.
Thanks, Chair. No, I was just I would also support option B. I think we've got on with those proviso of all of the things that Marcus has outlined within that, particularly around Legionella, and as with everything else, as things have moved on in the last so many years, so as risk assessment, so as things about Legionella, and obviously we cannot, for the safety of our own operatives that go in and clean with water droplets, they have also got to be, and we have a responsibility as a town council to make sure those risks are looked after. So, and I would, I'd welcome that a dialogue opening up with Coach and us, because, excuse me, there are implications for us as town council in terms of resources, in terms of budgets, in terms of money, and capacity within our existing teams. So I think we've got to look at all of those things within that option B scenario. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I mean, just to come back on some of the points Councillor Ellis, you mentioned about they're being perceived as public toilets now. Toilets, for the last 5 years, they've been perceived, they're the town council. The only issue is, yes, we have been maintaining them, but we haven't been paying attention to the regulations and the compliance behind it, which we cannot get access to. We cannot do that because the boilers, the heating system, and the electrical system serves the whole building, and we can't get access. So we somehow have no control over that. So in that some respect, there is a dissociation between there, which is what we need to overcome. But from hearing that, option B, do we have anyone else like to? Councillor Fenn?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm obviously just aware that this will cost us some money, and we need to be aware of how this will impact the budget going into next year, considering that it has gone up quite a lot over the past few years, and we've taken a lot of, we've had a lot of comments, and people have made a lot of concerns about it. Even with that, I still think doing option B would be best, because I think it'd be good to be able to maintain these toilets, and I think we can work well with Coach to look into those regulations to make sure it is compliant.
I mean, I think Coach will have to do the compliance, and they will have to show us the certificate. I've been told by our officers that once those compliances go out of date, then if we haven't seen that they are back compliant, then we do have to close the toilets. Again, down to the safety of our own staff going in, because if they're dealing with the water that isn't compliant, that's a risk to our own staff. And I mean, I was wondering, taking your point, sorry, actually, Councillor, I think you had your hand up. Did you want to come back in?
I was just going to point. I say that Brendan's here now, and the board are very, very open. They're very, very easy to contact and talk to, and they have had to do a lot of. There's been a massive backlog of work in terms of all sorts of forms of compliance that haven't been attended to. So that's absolutely fundamentally part of what they are working through. So I don't see that will be an issue, hopefully.
Since actually we're referring to Brendan and Coach, and since Brendan is here, can I ask him to comment on what you said?
You'd have to suspend your standing orders to bring a member of the public in, because you're in a full council session.
Okay, but I mean, Brendan, would you like to come back on some of the things we said?
Do you?
Well, if you say yes, I'll have to suspend standing orders. If you say no, then you're fine.
Yeah, I would like to say one thing.
Okay, then I'm happy to suspend standing orders. Do I have a finger? Okay, all those in favour? Okay, well, it's suspended, so Brendan, if you.
So the specifics of plumbing, we are open to investigating splitting the plumbing system because there are issues with the plumbing system, and we think that there could be a plan to fully split the plumbing system so that the toilets would be standalone and the council could then take full control. But that will require some investment and investigation.
So the entire water system for the toilets will be completely separate from the rest of it.
It requires investigation, but that is probably the logical way to go.
Okay, in that case, I propose to unsuspend. Thank you. Got a second there. All those in favour? Okay. Keen to debate. I mean, is it something that we can go with option B and review after a year? Bring back, because council, I'm conscious that Councillor Ellis has made the point that actually coach has, undergone some transition. It just needs a bit more grounding. I mean, should we carry on with option B, but review in a year and give coach the opportunity to perhaps separate the water system so that the toilets can come into?
Sorry, does it have to come back again? I'm just thinking.
But it would after a year, yes.
Yeah, because obviously you've got option B is to obviously put in the, deed of variation to the existing lease, but could it be a service level agreement? I think.
Yeah.
Given that new information, that's something to be worked through and considered.
So we could go for option B tonight with the understanding that we can come back to it in a year's time.
Yeah, to give delegated responsibility to the deputy clerk, obviously, to work with coach over the legal considerations.
Yeah. So I'd be happy with that. Anything else happy with that? Brendan, would you be happy with that? Just not to say anything. Okay, so what would be the proposal then, Ollie? So that we're to undertake to take on locking and unlocking, because I do think this is good. I think it'd be good to have the toilets open at the same time as all the others, especially in the park. That's so well used. Actually, it's getting a large footfall. And it's a shame that they close at the same time the cafe. So to undertake to take on the locking and unlocking, maintenance and cleansing, including replenishment of consumables of the French way of public toilets going forward, subject to evidence of whole building compliance, which we do need for this year. The delegated authority gives the deputy clerk to instruct solicitors to negotiate a formal deed of variation to the existing 125-year lease to reflect these changes irresponsibly, and to review this decision in a year's time.
Sorry, Chair. I wouldn't instruct me to go and weigh in. I would just give me delegated authority to negotiate an agreement to be reviewed in a year's time. If we spend money making a deed to the changes, at least then we'd have to go back in a year's time and.
Okay, right. So I'll read that again then. So to undertake to take on the locking and unlocking, maintenance and cleansing, including replenishment of consumables of the French way of public toilets going forward, subject to evidence of whole building compliance, with delegated authority given to the deputy clerk to
negotiate an agreement.
To negotiate an agreement with coach
to be reviewed
in a year's time. Okay, I propose that. Do I have a second? Councillor Ellis, all those in favour? Granted. There we go. So we will. There we go. Excellent. Thank you very much. And you are free to leave. If you so wish, or you can stay. It's entirely up to you. Thank you very much.
I'll press the button at the side. No, just in front of the rails.
This one here.
No, in front of the rails. Sorry.
Number 5.
Number 5, cricket.
Yes. Right. Okay. I think we're doing well. Cricket at Parsford. So I'll read the recommendations at the end. I think this is about bringing cricket back to Parsford, and I'd say back. Because I believe it was a cricket ground before. Bringing back to Priorswood. Jack, this is your thought, is it?
Yes, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, this is to a report to seek the support from our members to investigate bringing back cricket to Priorswood Park, also known as Cleve Road. We were approached by Taunton Indians, who are a local side based out of Moscow Hospital, seeking a home pitch and pavilion. The last time that Priorswood Park had its cricket pitch was in the 80s. We have had the Grounds Maintenance Association on site, along with Somerset Cricket Foundation. They have located the square. It's actually in remarkable condition, considering how long it hasn't had any help. And it's believed that it can get back into use for the 2020 season, 2027 season. There is some investigations that we need to conduct ourselves. So we will be seeking some support from our members for that. But all in all, it's a quite positive thing, and I hope you will support it.
Lovely. Do I have any comments?
Good one, then I might as well begin.
Councillor
Tolly.
Shall we go? Have you got the name right?
Yes.
Right, I'm 100% agree with this, but one thing does concern me. You're saying the Indian cricket team. Now, is that just going to be for them? Are they going to have the club and say this is our cricket club, or is it for all members of Priorswood area?
So they have 3 teams, and the pitch will actually facilitate probably 2 of those. They also have a very vibrant youth team. So they're essentially still looking for additional homes. They currently have no space for additional members. They are at full capacity. So it would essentially be just for the cricket team during the cricket season. Outside the cricket season, the site then becomes available for football. So it will continue to get used for other sports. But the cricket would always get the priority.
Good, that's good.
I just have one question at the moment. Is that will they need fencing to protect the houses opposite? And what has I can't remember the exact in Cricket England.
So it's Somerset Cricket Foundation. Yeah. We've had, like I said, we've had them both on site. That is something that we raised with them, is those concerns. They have specialists inside their own organisation who will come out and risk assess. And then there is the potential that they may need a fence in order to protect the houses, yes.
Who will pay for that fence?
That would have to be part of the investigation. Now there is Somerset Cricket Foundation have a big pot to reinvigorate town. They particularly want town's cricket pitches. This is because the local village pitches, the demographics are coming to the end, and so there aren't people to run those pitches anymore. So what they're actually finding is that it's the towns that require the cricket pitches to come back into use, because that's where the energy is and the people that want to continue cricket.
I think it's a very good idea. I mean, as saying was a cricket pitch, and it's good to bring it back. Would it have restrictions for the local residents?
No, it would have continued usage. There will be some protection required for the actual square itself.
Yeah, but only the square.
That's anticipated.
Yeah, so they can still walk their dogs.
There'll be no restrictions in that regard. Yeah.
So, well, the recommendation. Recommendation. And so we're recommending to provide officer time and resources to investigate and pull together all parties in order to bring back into use Priorswood cricket pitch, and to support a spend of approximately £1,000 from said budget, pavilion maintenance, to survey the existing disused water supply to the square. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Fanny and seconder. Councillor Fanny. All those in favour? Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Right. Item number 6 is the paddle tennis report. I think this is just, is it?
Don't.
Yes, we're not. We recommend to take no further direct action at this stage and to review the position in a year or so, by which time we should have a clear understanding of paddle provision Taunton and the potential gaps in provision. So I think we're just noting this, aren't we? So whose report is this?
It's Emily.
Okay, Emily. Hello, Emily.
Hi, evening members. Thank you. Councillor Sully brought forward an agenda request in June to explore the feasibility of bringing paddle tennis to Taunton, and members supported that proposal, and this report presents the findings from the research. The key findings suggest that paddle is likely to come to Taunton regardless of any direct involvement of Taunton Town Council, most notably through the proposed development at Queen's College. While paddle has the potential to generate income, it typically requires sites with suitable infrastructure, and currently none of the identified viable sites are owned by Taunton Town Council. Given this, we didn't undertake any public consultation, given there was no proposal to consult on. And at this stage, it doesn't appear to be any need to take any direct action. However, it may be worth revisiting the market in about a year or so just to assess whether there's any gaps in provision. So the recommendation, as you said, is to take no further action currently, with a review to review in 12 months' time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Emily. Yes, I'm very mindful that as a council we should be supporting the various institutions and businesses that are bringing paddle tennis. So I think, at this stage, should be very supportive of them, and I think let them get on with it. So do we have any other comments, or should we just move straight on? Do we have to vote that we've noted it?
Yeah, you're recommended to take no further action, so I would just vote with item 1 and 2 that's on the agenda.
Okay, so I propose we vote for item 1 and 2 on the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? We are duly noted and recommend we take no further action, and wish all the best to those who are bringing it to Taunton. Have success. And if anyone's listening, please do consider giving it a go. I'm giving up again.
That's all right, you use mine in the shit on.
So item 7.
The ops and asset strategy.
It's the ops and asset strategy plan. So so this is a document that's come forward to us. Both community in place have a working strategy plan. Operations and assets as the largest department within the council also has an asset plan. I hope you've read it. I think this is just for noting, isn't it, again?
So you can agree to it, and then it go as a recommendation to full council with all the other strategies.
Okay. So okay, so with that, alongside Roger's view, do we have any other comments on the? It's been a long time in writing. Both myself and Paul set down. I mean, literally, this is just a strategy as to how we're going to deal with our assets and how we will maintain our assets and how we will develop our assets. So probably not the most interesting of reading. So about our assets and our buildings.
So this is for you as a committee to consider adopting the strategy, and it will obviously go to full council for ratification.
So do we have any comments or suggestions? Anything that you read and you feel you want to adapt, change, rewrite? No? In that case, I propose that we we adopt the Operations and Assets Service Management Strategy Plan for 2025 to 2028 and commend it to full council.
Mhm.
And okay, I propose that. Do I have a seconder? All those in favour? Great, lovely, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so sorry. So, next item, green flag. Green flag. Members supporting increasing the number of green flag applications. So we have 3 parks now with green flag status, and the intention is to look for or to produce 3 more. So this is Taunton Green, Goodlands Gardens, and which was the other one? Lingford Park. That's it, Goodlands, Taunton Green, Goodlands Gardens, and Lingford Park.
You've got Adrian here for any questions on the green flag.
Yes, so okay, so Ethan, would you like to say a few words on it first?
Yeah, I think if the council, if members agree to this, I think it's a good thing that we spread the green flags throughout Taunton. It gives the opportunity for a lot more friends groups to be involved. We've got the capacity to do that within the council, and to improve all the more parks we can improve, the better.
Lovely, thank you very much. Now, to note that we say every green park requires an ecological survey each year for £1,800, but these 2 of these parks have already been done.
Yep.
So we've just got to do 1 more, and that's already been accounted for in a separate budget.
Yeah.
So ecological budget, but we would need to do those every year.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Chair, can I just add as well, in the report, it says that about the flagpoles
Yes.
being a one-off cost, but there will
Yes.
be an inspection need for the flagpoles as well.
On the early basis, yeah.
Yes, well, just,
I mean, I'm very happy to support this and push this forward. I think it's I think it makes perfect sense. We've got some lovely parks, and it's good to keep them up to standard and ensure that they've got policies behind them to protect them. So, are you happy to propose?
No, I didn't. No, I was just going to say that it's good to see that Goodlands Gardens is in this, because we use Goodlands Gardens such a lot, and it sort of seems to get missed out.
It does.
So I fully support this.
Yes, and it looked absolutely lovely on Saturday. It was full of people. Can I ask why we've chosen those? I mean, obviously Goodlands. It's
Yeah, Goodlands. I think Lingford gives that side of the town some recognition. We've got some good community groups over in Lingford as well that we work with. We've got some artworks over there we work with. So yeah, I think that one over there will give that coverage over that side of town.
yeah, and also, of course, Taunton Green and Lingford are very close to primary schools.
Yeah.
Green parks give a good opportunity for the schools to go out and see them.
Get that community development and get that involvement with those schools, definitely.
So we are consider supporting increasing the number of green flag applications for our parks from 3 to 6 for 2026-27, including commissioning 2 ecological surveys. Oh, sorry, we've already had 1 done. We've still got 2 to do, and the purchase and installation of 3 additional flagpoles and 3 notice boards. Network costs. So I was going to ask, are those notice boards already part of the notice boards that have come through from Tilly? A part of them,
No.
or are they separate?
Separate.
Okay.
Concept.
Because we may have already covered the notice boards in. The total cost for 2026 being £6,000. So I'm happy to propose. Oh, you propose? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Tully. All those in favour? Great, lovely. Thank you very much. Right, so depot signage report. So there was, thank you, Roger. So we were all given a vote, 3 options. 40% of respondents, I believe, went for option 1. We are here to really confirm that option. So unless anyone's got anything to say, I don't think we can overturn Yeah, the choice has been made. So I'm happy to move straight on to the recommendation, really, which is to confirm the conclusions from all councillor email poll, which sign design option they wish to use for the depot and our other premises, and to allocate 3,688 from the service improvements budget to cover the cost of obtaining advertisement consent and purchasing the sign for the depot. And do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Fanning. A seconder? Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Great, lovely, thank you. So we have gone for option. For those at home, are we able to display it on the screen? Yes. I suddenly realised.
It is in the report.
Yeah, be in the report pack.
Alright, so there you go. So option 1, that's what we are using as our depot signage. And other areas around the town when we use it. I like that. Right, okay, so moving on to item 12. So I think this is a good report, this one coming up. Us being able to use community payback to keep a lot of our hedgerows and paths maintained, cut back. And I have to say, as a councillor, I do receive many emails saying these hedges and verges need cutting back, and it can be quite an ordeal, and I think this is going to be a good solution to the problem. So Mark, did you want to say anything else about it?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I know that Councillor Smith-Roberts did want to come. I think she was hoping to be here by 7:30, so I don't know whether you wanted to sort of.
But she wanted to. Oh,
she
look
is.
at that.
But as she's coming in, I can quickly just go through. If you like.
That was.
Okay, so that was very well timed. We have literally just got to the community payback. Very well timed.
So I'll catch my breath.
That's it.
Oh, just a briefing.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, is Councillor Smith-Roberts wanting to speak on this?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
She can speak. She doesn't have to be a member of the committee to speak. Just speak afterwards.
yes, I don't have to suspend standing orders.
No.
No.
That's right.
Thank you, Chair. So asking members to consider approving entering into a partnership pilot with His Majesty's Prison and Probation Service Community Payback Scheme, with TTC acting as host partner to allow for unpaid work to be undertaken in TTC-owned parks and open spaces and Somerset Council-owned pathways in the TTC area. Delegate to myself to agree and enter into the memorandum of understanding between both organisations, which is included as an appendix C, and to review the operation of the partnership in 12 months' time. Included in the appendices of the memorandum of understanding and the initial list of 18 or so public pathways in the Taunton parish area. This isn't an exhaustive list. If there are problem paths that aren't on that list that you would like the community payback team to take a look at, please do pass through and we can assess it. There are some restrictions on where they can go. It actually has to be land owned by but not profit organisations. So there were some that were put forward that we can ask them to take a look at because they're not owned by a public body like Somerset Council. They also have things where they can't be within 1.2 metres of a road. So there are some restrictions there around some of the where they can go. But I mean, in terms of this, seems like a really beneficial scheme for the council. Could help provide obviously a benefit for the people taking part in the scheme as well as ourselves, in helping Taunton and the parks and open spaces to look looking appropriate. In terms of the supervisors, the teams are always accompanied by trained supervisors who hold relevant qualifications, including LANTRA, IOSH and first aid. All activities are subject to formal risk assessments, which are provided in advance. We will have to, and I think that's what identified in one of the risks, is that as a government body, they don't have public liability insurance. So I've highlighted that as a risk that we'll monitor throughout the pilot period. So it'd be a greater frequency of these unpaid workers operating under our instruction in public spaces. There may be an increased exposure to potential insurance claims, but we'll see as and when after the 12 months whether that does bear reality or not. And I wouldn't want it to put you off proceeding with this. We've had great cooperation from Somerset Council, who are very supportive of the scheme in terms of helping address some of those problem paths, and they're open and they've given permission for the community payback workers to use the facility where they lock up their tools in the town, to continue using that as before when they previously were working under their auspices. So that's really positive. And also the vans will not be ticketed when they're out and about, which is positive as well. We'll be providing in-kind benefits. So as part of the agreement with the HM probation service, they like to see that both partners are getting benefits out of it. So there may be a need for the two supervisors that manage the groups to be included with any training programs that the town council offers, toolbox talks, things like that. We obviously will be offering the option for them to use our welfare facilities, pavilions and things like that. Yeah, happy to take any questions really, Chair. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Smith-Roberts, did you want to comment in at this point?
Oh, thank you, Chair. I'm just really pleased that this is being brought together, and that we are thinking not only about what work we need to have done, but also around how we support those who are part of the community payback scheme. So I think it has so many positives in this, in the fact that we're supporting those that obviously need to give community payback. And then there's the other element around the close working relationship that is developing with Somerset Council. Sometimes people will go that we need to stay in our own lanes and that everything must be done by each kind of level of government, and that why are, a unitary authority not doing what they need to do, whereas actually this is a kind of bringing everyone to the table for areas that will benefit us with regards to our open spaces. But actually, if you're on Facebook probably as much as I am, and you see them very the places that people get frustrated about when it comes to the lanes and stuff, that to me is something that the residents care about. I know that there will be some in-kind kind of work that's being done by our team to kind of, direct queries and workloads to the community payback scheme that probably Somerset Council couldn't, should be doing, because in effect it's their land, but actually everyone kind of benefits from this. It will be good to see how this trial goes, what other work that are potentially, available for them to do, whether once they've done community payback, whether there's work experience or kind of avenues from that moving forward, anything that kind of helps, people to kind of, get on to like jobs and everything moving forward from this. So for me, win-win situation. I guess what Marcus is saying, that they can't do land that isn't in public ownership. So places like Boundary Park in the Blackbrook and Holway ward, Maiden Brook, and Neville's Farm that is still at the moment under the ownership of Taylor Wimpy developers and other developers. That's what they mean that they can't touch, because it's in effect not public land. Is that right?
Yeah, thank you. It's part of their restrictions. Then they're not allowed to offer this service for profit and eligible organisations, so local authorities. They're not proposed to go into Somerset Council owned parks at this stage. I think the service is going to talk to Somerset Council separately about that, because obviously the public liability cover for them that we're offering is only really for our parks and open spaces and in public sphere that we've got those lanes and pathways we've identified.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts, and I know what exactly you mean. I had a resident who just needed a hedge cutting. It was on the edge of one of our parks, so we thought we would do it, but it turned out that its roots began in Somerset Council, and in the end, this hedge never got cut because nobody could decide whose it was, and all the residents saw was the hedge that needed cutting. They didn't really care who cut it. And I think this is going to be one of those things that just helps just clear so many, you know, a bit of collaborative working, just clear so much of the air there. Yeah,
If I can just come back on that, one of my questions is, what do they do about residents' responsibility? So when people have a garden and their tree overhangs onto lanes and parts, will they cut those, or will they work with Somerset Council to get the owners to cut it back? It's just something for us to look into, because residents have a responsibility to look after their horticulture that then touches public land. And sometimes people think that actually that's not their responsibility because they don't know about their boundaries. So I'm just wondering, we just need to probably iron out some of those kind of bits and pieces.
I'm just assuming that it comes under the cutting it for the private
I
benefit.
think you're meant to offer stuff that you take from someone's garden back to them, aren't you, as part of different. You have to give it back, don't you?
Give it back.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, we just need to be clear in our communications and kind of processes.
Do we not need their permission to cut it in the first place?
Not if it, again, I'm no expert on this. But no, I think as long as you offer them back what overhangs your owners.
I believe that's the case. So if it overhangs onto a public path or something like that, you're allowed to cut it back, but you've got to give back that into the landowner. So you would have to
Sure, they'd be very grateful.
put the branches back. In theory.
I can't step in there.
Thanks, Chair Davis. Just to come back on Councillor Smith-Roberts' point about, I also sit on Bishop's Hall Parish Council, which is a very small parish council, but obviously if we have those same issues about overhanging vegetation, usually the parish clerk sends a letter to the homeowner just to say, could you trim back? And again, echoing Donna's point about, you know, all the vegetation goes back to them because it's theirs. Thank you.
Any other questions from members?
Sorry, I was just going to say we have that same letter template, and you know, when we're notified of residents where that's unfortunately grey out into the public highway, we can issue a letter template to ask them to come back. So that's sort of separate to this, but yeah, thank you.
Well, some of my final questions would be, reading the memorandum of understanding, there's an onus on us to make sure there's enough work to keep people occupied, because it's 3 Sundays a month for 7 hours a Sunday. So have we got enough in public, or do we all need to hurriedly start going around our boundaries and alleyways?
I've got enough to keep you busy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think there is.
There's plenty to keep them going for now.
So that's, I mean, can members of the public put in requests, suggestions? If they're passing a pathway and think, oh, this needs cutting, so if any member of the public, are they allowed to?
Would we hope that our relationship with Somerset Council develops, that they would then, if they continue to log via the standard logging process,
Right.
and that they should be able to pass the data through?
Yeah, so if any members of the public are watching now and you see an overgrown path, it can't be adjacent to a road, but you know, any paths I'm thinking of, and you feel that it needs trimming, then please log it through Somerset Council, and Somerset Council will pass it on to us, and if you can use the community payback, because as I say, there's 3 Sundays a month for 7 hours. That's a lot. The other thing I've Councillor Fernandez just pointed out to me, that's in recommendation number 1, it does say Town Council owned advanced and open spaces and Somerset Council owned pathways in the Taunton Town Council area. Is that correct, Marcus? That for the recommendation, given what we've just been
Yes, Chair, because we don't own any pathways unless they're in sort of our partner's open spaces as a landowner. I think there would be Somerset Council pathways and identify.
Right, well, we have 3 recommendations there. Approving entering into partnership pilot with HMP and P Service Community Payback Scheme with Taunton Town Council acting as host partner to allow for unpaid work to be undertaken in Taunton Town Council owned parks and open spaces and Somerset Council owned pathways in the Taunton Town Council area. Also to delegate to the Deputy Clerk to agree and enter into the memorandum of understanding between both organisations and to review this operation of the partnership in 12 months' time. I'm very happy to propose. I've proposed for a while. Councillor Tully, second. All those in favour? Passed unanimously. Excellent. And I'm looking forward to that. And I have a whole list up my sleeve. Yes. Okay, next item as well, before we do, we've been going in and out. Does anyone feel they need just a quick break? Yeah. Toilet, drink, refresh, 5-minute break? No? Okay. Right, so item 13, open spaces compound. So
Adrian here.
then I should go. I'll read the recommendations at the end. So I'll let Adrian.
Good evening, members. So this is a proposal to create a storage compound to the rear of the pavilion at Hamilton Park. A bit of background on this. So we have to purchase bulk materials for the open spaces service. So that could be playbar or play sand, large materials like that. And we need an area to store those. So we are thinking of building this compound at the rear of Taunton, which would be suitable. There's a building there that the staff can access while they're there. There's electricity we can get from that building to supply CCTV and lighting for the area if needed. And obviously there's welfare facilities as well for staff whilst they're there. This would be a really good option for us to have, be accessible for deliveries from large lorries, and also for the staff to get there in their vehicles to collect stuff from there as well. There's obviously a cost to this, so we've set out the costs in the report. We're looking for a total of £14,000 to be vied across from another budget, and to be able to propose this and to be able to build this. I'm looking for your support on that.
Lovely, thank you, Adrian. Just to confirm, does that environment, can that be done by us as a committee? It doesn't have to be full council. No, so that can be done by us. That's good. And welcome in the report that we're by doing this in house and with the planters that we're aiming to save about £5,000 per year. And it's got a huge benefit having our planters actually in town, so we can maintain them and make the town look pretty.
It just gives us that space and that option.
Yeah.
To do that, yes.
Do I have any comments from members? Councillor Fernandez. Look what you doing, Mike. Fantastic.
Thank you. It's just a quick question, Adrian. So when you look at the plans, it's open, so there's no top on it at all.
No,
it's just open.
There'd be just a security fence around building, around the compound. Sorry.
So I'm just sort of thinking, would it be easier for people to get into over the fence? It was just there was things about things being stored there.
Yeah,
we
wouldn't have high value items there, so it would be just materials for soil and play bark and empty baskets, that type of thing. There wouldn't be high value items. The high value items would be kept at the depot.
I was going to ask you about hanging baskets. Is it just the sort of the empty baskets?
Yeah, so it would be just to store empty baskets if we're not using them over the winter. Then if moving on further as time goes on, we could then have a space there where we could plant up those hanging baskets ourselves, save that money from purchasing those from outside, and gives us the team something to do in the winter time to plant those up and to grow them on.
And the plants that were going to be in the hanging baskets, they wouldn't be stored there, they'd be stored somewhere else and then just bought there for.
Yeah, so yeah, we get them from a nursery and then bring them there and plant them up, and then they will go out onto the baskets and then those hanging up.
Thank you, thanks, Jay.
Okay. So this area isn't coming like the town council nursery.
Yeah, I mean there'd be CCTV there as well. That's it within the budget. So yeah, that would be there as well to try and help, keep unwanted people away.
Okay. And it's not impeding to the car park or
No, so we've made it to go to where the hedge line is now. Then we'd replant a new native hedge.
Do I have any other questions? No, councillor.
Just one or two. It's in my ward, so
Okay.
that's why. There's no. It looks to me there's nowhere where your staff will have to get tea or things like that. I intend doing that. It'll be just for that only, just for that will come to work there, go away from there.
Yeah, so it won't be as a depot facility, it'd just be storage, so that they would still go to the depot to collect their vehicles and that type of thing, and that would just be there for storage. If they would need the toilet while they're there, obviously the pavilion's there to be used, there's running water as well there.
Yeah. No, that was only what I was querying. As I say, one of the problems with it is it is in a very isolated area. As soon as you get out in the gates there, it's very isolated.
Yeah.
You'll make sure it's well protected.
Yeah, so there would be security fence, CCTV lighting, and and we're not going to put high value items there.
Thank you, Chair. That's all I need.
Councillor Smith-Roberts?
It's just something to consider for the future then, because I know you just said that you're putting lighting in there. That's the one part of the park that isn't lit by street lighting, which is regular feedback from like runners and dog walkers and everything. So it's just something to think about the future, how, it's just made me think about that needing lighting in and of itself, because it's pitch black at that.
It is.
Yes, and I've just come back. It's I mean, I'm just noticing that it's a 1.8 metre high mesh fence.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 1.9. Do you think this is high enough?
It's not that high. It's that.
Do you think that is that?
Might be planning if it goes.
It's planning, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then.
Good as we could get.
There's fences. I think I can plant my nose in. Okay, all right, so it's that height because of planning regulation. Well, I mean, I'm very happy. I think it's good. I think it's helping us to deliver our planters, our flower arrangements in town. Go somewhere. So the recommendations will be to support this proposal, creating an open space compound in the currently unused space between the pavilion and the car park, as indicated by the red line on plan set in Appendix A, and to support funding this project by way of a budget environment and transfer funds from an underspend of the current Victoria Pavilion refurbishment to the Hamilton Court Park grounds maintenance budget, the value of £14,087.50 for the erection of the necessary fencing, hedge planting and various installations in connection with formation of the proposed compound. I was just I mean, with the fencing, do you have to put in concrete posts at regular intervals?
So that'd be metal posts. So that's a V-mesh. It's held in metal post and that's concreted into the ground.
That's I was thinking there's no risk to the public from the metal posts and the metal meshing. I don't know, just walking into it, scratching themselves.
Yeah, it's just it's not it's not going to harm them. It's just a
well, do I have a proposer for this? Okay.
Can I just ask one more question?
Yes, of course.
The hedging, is that going to be on the outside of the fence or the inside?
That'd be on the outside.
Oh, on the outside, so you've got the fence and the hedging, of course, yes.
Because they did the same thing in Oxford and they use thistles, things which, you know, really kept people out.
Yeah, so that would be the idea. We'd use native thorn plants, so you could use blackthorn and hawthorn and that type of thing. That'd be a natural barrier as well.
That would work, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yes, that's much better, isn't it? Yeah. Because metal fencing looks like there's something there. You can see it, but the hedging.
Stop it.
And that actually looked nice as well.
It will.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the moment is a privet hedge there, so yeah, with be a better hedge, it'd be a native hedge as well.
Okay.
I can't go in there. So you're councillor, you have to propose. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Yeah. Great. Lovely. Thank you very much. Right, we're getting there. Okay, so the next item is changing places access arrangements. Okay, so Lee, and now Richard's not here. You're going to take it on, Emily. So people may be aware that we've had to close our changing places at the bus station called Building 1 at the moment. And Emily, you're going to explain to us why now as part of the report. So we need to note this. We need to note the operational decision to close and to agree for officers to progress the review in line with changing places guidance and agree to officers engaging with their disability community to identify and better understand their requirements and expectations, and also to delay the completion of opening the Cannon Street and Paul Street changing places facilities and the reopening of the bus station facility. So Emily, you'd like to give us more detail about this one?
Thank you. Yeah, so this report outlines our initial findings from our review into the risks of operating changing places facilities. This is prompted by legal guidance and best practice from the Changing Places Consortium. So changing places are facilities that provide specialist equipment for people with multiple and complex disabilities who have one or two assistants with them. So they contain such equipment as height adjustable changing benches and hoists, which must only be used by those who are competent in their operation. The Changing Places Consortium highlights serious health and safety risks if equipment is misused and recommends secure access arrangements. It's widely recognised that radar keys offer little in the way of security as they're easily purchasable online. And we must also consider the risks from vandalism and antisocial behaviour, which could make the equipment in the facilities unsafe, and it's also costly to repair. So we're following guidance from the consortium and undertaking a review to identify the measures that we need to ensure that the facilities can be opened safely. Following an initial risk assessment and based on officers' professional opinion, the facility at the Full Bus Station has been temporarily closed as it wasn't safe to keep it open in its current position. An operational decision has also been presented today to delay the opening of the new facilities at Changing Places facilities at Cannon Street and Paul Street, just until we've completed the wider review that will allow us to open these facilities safely. So the review prompted by the guidance is ongoing, and it will include site-specific detailed risk assessments, engagement with the Changing Places Consortium for further advice, contacting other councils to understand their access approaches for those who have Changing Places facilities, reviewing access arrangements and including radar keys and potential alternatives, and also engaging with the disability community locally to understand their requirements and their expectations. So we aim to complete the review by mid-October and report back with the key findings and recommendations from that review. So members are asked to note the guidance and the risks, note the decision to temporarily close the facility at the bus station, agree to progress the review in line with the guidance, engage with the local disability community, and also delay the completion and opening of the facilities until the risk assessment driven solutions can be identified and implemented. Thank you. Happy to take any questions.
Right, Councillor Fernandez.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Emily. Thank you for that. I've just got a couple of things to ask. Obviously, it concerns me that we've had to close these important places because, you know, there's members of our community now are prevented from using them. Do we have a timescale of when you think they're going to reopen? That's one question.
So we aim to complete the review by mid-October. So we're working very quickly on this because, like you say, we don't want facilities closed. And then we'll come back with the solutions. So of course, we don't yet have all of the research in order to deliver that conclusion yet, but we would expect to be able to deliver that and implement it this year.
I had a quick look at the Changing Places website, and they've got quite a few sort of suggestions about different things, and it's about maybe looking at different options about, you know, if we can have a key, so if, you know, a key can be left somewhere, maybe at the museum or maybe even at the pub, perhaps, so that, you know, people want to use it, they could go in and get the key and so on. So maybe looking at different options. And I think they also said about the limiting the hoist use and using a radar key for the hoist use, but obviously they'd have to get a separate, you know, maybe a keypad entry, but then have the radar key with them to operate the hoist. I mean, I for one do understand fully the risks associated with different equipment and so on. But I just think, you know, if we can expedite it as quick as we can, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Smith Roberts, Councillor
Smith Roberts.
I could not talk about toilets, could I?
Yeah.
So I can totally appreciate the kind of frustration or disappointment in the fact that we know that we want to provide accessible facilities and then have to close them as soon as we opened one, but also then with our plans to develop them at other sites. I think it's right that we just take a moment to check out the risks and balances, and it might be that we end up, you know, it could be that we go too risk averse or not risky enough, because it's about trying to make sure that people are safe, but also that risk of vandalism. So doing the research that the project team are doing, are right to do, seeing how other places cope with changing places, because they're, you know, they're widespread. It's that balance, isn't it, of a lot of places have changing places within facilities that are manned, but we're trying to put them into a public place because we want people to be able to, you know, do more within the town centre. So I just think hopefully, you know, we're in October tomorrow, which is quite scary, but hopefully in 2 or 3 weeks time we may have, you know, be a bit further forward.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just to emphasise, I mean, doing the research, I mean, the government estimate that what 40 million people in this country need to have access to them, and the standard to build them in new public buildings. The risks, of course, come about the fact that you have a hoist, and actually people need training on hoists. You know, I was a carer for 18 months. I was trained on the hoist, and thankfully in my job I didn't actually have to use one because yeah, they're not easy to use. Things can go wrong. You can cause real harm if you misuse a hoist. Reading more about it is the slings. You know, do you go with your own sling, or do you have a sling that just everybody uses because, you know, it's cross contamination? Yes, there's a lot. I mean, I think we do need to sort out how people access them. I like the idea that they really are there for people who have to have a carer, that they just cannot operate unless they've got a carer, and that's the point of these spaces. But those carers do need the training, and I was wondering how, you know, in our discussions, how we make these toilets very accessible to people with their carers, so they don't, because they talk about, you know, needing the training, proving that they've got the training. We thought how we could help facilitate that and make it easy to get into the places.
From our initial research at the moment, so some councils have, for example, a number that they would have to bring up. So outside the facility is a number. There would be a couple not personal questions, but just questions to say, are you confident in the use of the equipment? And then there's also a record for the council that this person has answered yes to these questions. Their person is with their carer or assistant, and then they can use the facility, and then they're given a code, for example. So it's that kind of infrastructure that we need to determine what we would use. It would it be a code system? Would it be like Councillor Fernandez said, a key held by, for example, the library for Wall Street or something, potentially that we could do that. But yes, the key part is ensuring that those that are using it are competent.
I mean, in our discussions with Changing Places, are we able to make suggestions to them that actually they offer online training, which people they can use in webinars, or some where they can train to use a hoist? Or is it, I mean, training a hoist you almost need to do in person, don't you? Actually thinking about it, but then once you've been validated as qualified, you could be given a key. That Changing Places can issue keys which we could use.
In terms of actually kind of, so each individual person would have their own risk assessment for their own individual disabilities, and they would have their own carers who would themselves get qualified on the board. So in terms of us delivering the facilities, we wouldn't be involved in getting the individuals trained to use the hoist. We would just be ensuring that that individual has had the training who is using the facility. And we would be doing our own risk assessment of the facility. So each individual person will have their own risk assessment, and then the facility itself will have the risk assessment. That's what we would be undertaking.
Shouldn't there companies be happy in Taunton that, but we could direct to and say for training, if care needs to be trained, we could have a list of companies be open to doing that. To consider. And do I have any other questions, comments? I mean, I think it's a shame we've had to close it so soon, but for those listening, we have to have the safety of the people using it paramount, and we have to be confident that we're not putting people in danger by using these. So that's why we are doing this as we are. I think, do I need to read the recommendations again, or can we just take them on block?
We'll take them on the block because it's on the report agenda.
So, I mean, I'm happy to propose the recommendations, take them as a block. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fernandez. So all those in favour of the recommendation set? Thank you. Great. Lovely. Thank you very much. Right. I believe we are almost at the end. And the last one is an agenda request.
Extend for.
Yes, okay, we might as well do it now. So I propose we extend our session for half an hour. That'd be more than enough. And so I propose to have a seconder. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Tully. All those in favour? Okay, so that just covers ourselves now. Right, so we have an agenda request from Councillor Ficini, which is the potential transfer of public open spaces in Maiden Brook ward. So we are to consider the report and consider recommending to full council. So whatever we decide today has to go to full council. But the principle of adopting the 6 identified. I'm not entirely sure what POS is.
Public open space.
Public open space in Maiden Brook be agreed. We recommend to full council that, subject to agreeing the principle, officers be authorised to undertake the necessary due diligence, detailed costings, insurance checks, and draft heads of terms to inform a final adoption decision. Note indicative legal costs between £7,000 to £12,000 plus VAT for the 6 parcels, and capital revenue implications set out in the report. Endorse the preparation of a draft land adoption policy to guide future decisions consistently across the town. I have a statement here from Councillor Ficini, which I will just read out now. So, dear committee, please accept my apologies for not being able to be with you this evening, as I am out of the country at present. It is fair to say Maiden Brook residents have had to put up with their fair share over the last few years. We've seen multiple unauthorised encampments and poor maintenance of our parks and open spaces, leaving them to fall well below the standards you would expect. Unfortunately, during the rush to set up Taunton Town Council in 2023, the only assets that were transferred within the Maiden Brook ward appears to have been notice boards. My request this evening allows you the opportunity to show Maiden Brook residents the value of being within the town council boundaries and start the process of transferring ownership of the public open spaces within the Knowles and Stony Furlong estate. Now, I remind you of a similar proposal I brought to you from the Maiden Brook estate, which you recently backed as a committee to cut back the overgrowth as a one-off in view of looking to take over the ownership there once Somerset Council and the developers agreed the adoption package. Taunton Town Council is now better placed to undertake the maintenance of these areas and in my view provide a much better service than Somerset Council has previously. Thank you for your time and I hope there will be a positive outcome following your debate. And I'd like to thank Councillor Riccini for his confidence in the work that the operations and assets teams have been doing in our other parks. So, Councillor Smith-Roberts.
I don't know whether other committee members want to speak because I'm only visiting this evening.
Yours is the only hand that's gone up.
Oh,
Fernandez.
I thought we were having a report, so I better keep my hand down.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sorry. Yes, because my computer isn't.
Take Bev first and then
Yes.
I'll
Yes, no, first of all, who is so ask Donna to report.
Yeah.
So sorry. I'm so sorry.
My report. So I think you've gone over the basis of the report as well, but it's just for you to consider. So we've had the agenda requests come in. We've done some initial scoping, but it's the recommendation is obviously to go to full council and then obviously give some authority to progress it to do some further works to undertake. But just to bring your attention to the initial costings that have come out at the moment. So in all, it's with staff and a non-cost, it's looking between 36 to nearly 39,000 per annum for these open spaces. So as a committee, we're asking for your consideration. Do you want to put that as a recommendation to full council for the adoption of the 6 areas of land, and obviously give the staff the capacity to go out and do some further due diligence work on it as well, and enter into start negotiations.
Councillor Fernandez, then Councillor Smith-Roberts. Oops.
Thank you, Chair. No, I would support this, but we do have to look at, I was just looking in the report, are any of those areas still owned by the developer? Do we know? It was just about in the report we talk about exploring developer, Somerset Council contributions, section 106 SIL and earmark reserves and so on. But I'm just wondering if when we look at this as a whole, if there's any section 106 or SIL money still available, or if there's any monies waiting to still come in from the developer for those areas that could assist with this particular item.
That's something that needs additional research done. Yeah, so it's just additional funding as well, but I think they're all owned by Somerset Council, these pieces of land.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith, Councillor Firmin.
Yes, within the picture in the last bit of the report, it shows several sort of small patches of land. Do we need to take all of those on? Would that sort of reduce the costs? I guess that's the question you can't really answer because that's up to us to say really, but I'm just thinking, we obviously have the 2 big fields at either end. Do we need to have all the tiny bits within the housing estate as well?
Did someone have an answer?
There is no answer. That was the pieces of land that was identified, I think, from Councillor Frascini, and I believe there's another item that he's brought up only today that wasn't there, which should come into the considerations as well. So,
okay. Does that have any bearing on what we're discussing now?
Well, this report was for these 6 pieces. I think you look at that, and then obviously one of the other recommendations is there for the land adoption policy. I think that will guide the council as to, you know, future pieces of land.
I'm thinking, how much would it cost for us to maintain them on an annual basis?
There's an indicative figures in there. I said like 38. So you've got there was a yeah, there was an exercise done. So the amount of hours for maintenance, monthly inspections, weekly inspections, ad hoc repairs. So that was totaling 28, nearly 29,000 per annum. With staffing on costs, you're looking at about 39,000. There's also the capital as well. So there was some missing play equipment. There's the legal costs as well, and initial clearance.
Right. And is there scope in our budget to absorb that at the moment?
These are additional pieces of land, so it's not budgeted within our current budget. So that's something for you to consider. So any other pieces of land and any other costs, if there's no budget that sits with it, it's going to be additionals.
Councillor Smith-Roberts, did you?
So I think you're all raising points, which is why at full council I wouldn't support this. And then I'll give you the reasons why. What Councillor Fassini is saying is obviously there are concerns within his community. Some of those need to come through to Somerset Council. So there has been unauthorised encampments in Stony Furlong, and protection work is now being put in place to try and help restrict access to those sites. So some, you know, however, that doesn't mean, you know, that unauthorised encampments won't go elsewhere. You're then looking at pieces of land that, if there are concerns with, and I know Giuseppe has asked me to go and meet with him, but we can't seem to get our diaries aligned and both missed the meeting that we thought one each other was going to go to. And I'm more than happy with my Somerset hat on to go and walk around there with one of my open spaces team from Somerset Council to raise it. Play equipment is another matter because there is no funds to do play equipment at Somerset Council, apart from to make sure that the weekly inspections are done, but replacement play equipment will not go in. However, with my Taunton Town Council hat on, and there is a difference, we're going about this the wrong way, because I could sit here and go, I want land in Blackbrook and Holway to come on board. For me, it's about having a strategic approach that doesn't look at just one area. It goes, what are we hoping to achieve? Where are we wanting to spend our money? And if we're looking to spend £60,000, and I do appreciate that there was land that didn't come across as part of the transfer under when Taunton Town Council was created. However, that doesn't detract from where we are today and the pressures that this will put onto our budget as we look to bring that forward in the next year. And we're currently working on that now, aren't we? So for me, it's to take a step back and go, what are we wanting to do? And then look at that there's some, and that's not the right word, but a strategic approach.
Yes, I mean, I agree. I mean, even in Stable Grove, there's still parks.
And also it's about holding Somerset to account. If there are areas that aren't being cut, then let's report them and let's work out why they're not being done and what can be done to make them better.
We've got Hudson Park in Stable Grove, and it's got some major play equipment in there. That's not Somerset. So yes, there are plots of land around Taunton. Of course, there's still Lively Park. I can't stop that.
All I was just going to add was, when I said I was supportive, I've supported this going to go to full council for precisely those reasons that Councillor Smith-Roberts has raised. I think as a smaller committee here, we need the fuller input of the full council to make an informed decision on this. Quite rightly, as Councillor Smith-Roberts said, to look at it in the round, all-rounded approach.
So yes, I'm sure as a committee we're happy for it to go to full council, because it definitely needs the wider scope of councillors. This can't be decided by 4 of us in the room. You can't represent the whole of the town council here. So, I'll go to Councillor Tally.
All right.
So, Charlotte.
I just have to be very careful with this. The developers let those estates go, and they really did. They were very poor. The Taunton Deane Borough Council failed, and now Somerset Council's failed on them. So he's really screwing people up because they've been failed for the last 20 odd years. And that's when it was built, 24 years ago. It was built. No, it was only, I think, I'm not sure the 100%, but I think it's in the last 6 years that it was actually handed over. It just shows how bad it was, they were treated. So, yeah, it needs to go to full council.
Can I just point out that obviously within the report it says you know, recommendations is the Operations Asset Committee is asked to consider recommending to full council that the principle of adopting the 6 identified public open spaces in Maiden Brook is agreed. So what you need to do is you need to agree whether you're doing that rather than
we're happy to go to full council.
Back to full council.
As a committee would be back it when it gets to full council.
Because if you do, then why would you then be putting it to full council? Because you are the committee that will scrutinise it. You will, you know, are you supportive of it? Are you in favour of it? Or because as a committee, you're given delegated powers to look at these things.
Well, it has its pitfalls clearly, and it's got its cost implications, which I'm not entirely sure we can absorb at this stage. Councillor Furman.
Yeah, I think going that, I'd make a proposal to not take this to full council.
Okay. Might have a seconder for that.
So if it doesn't go to full council,
Yes.
We have to decide.
then what happens? Do we as a committee recommend that officers, which it will be done, yeah, so where do we go from here? That's my next question.
There isn't anywhere as far as this agenda requested. It's come into the committee. It's been reviewed by the committee, and if it's, you know, you don't carry that decision, then that's it. It doesn't get taken any further. I think looking at the other recommendations, there is one on there to endorse the preparation of a draft land adoption policy to guide any future decisions and requests that come in. So you could potentially agree to that one, and then if once you've agreed your land adoption policy, then you could then look at different pieces of land.
So we could look at, well, I was going to say, we could look at recommendation 1, considering recommending to full council that the principle of adopting the 6 identified POSs in Maiden Brook be agreed. Would we reject that? Yeah, we reject that. So should we take them 1 point at a time then?
You have got Councillor Smith Roberts.
Okay, go then.
Sorry, I know you want to go through them one by one, and I've given my view on the Maiden Brook. I'm just thinking about what this committee can do, and I'm trying to think around one, looking at a wider adoption lands policy, making that a recommendation, and through the clerk, does that have to go to full council, or this committee can decide to do that in its own?
You can do that in its own right. Agree to that.
Yeah, and then I wonder if there's something, and I don't know if it has to be a recommendation. One, I will separately with my Somerset hat on pick up around Maiden Brook with the open spaces manager, just to check what we are and are not doing there, and send him a copy of this paper. And then I'm wondering, going back to the previous agenda item where we talked about community payback, is there something once that has bedded in that we can have a look at these pockets of land, because not all of them are parks, are there? Some of them bits of rogue triangle places that developers like to put in, and then they don't really serve a real true purpose. They're not just play parks. Is there something there for the next stage of community payback, where I'm so optimistic about how successful this is going to be, and that we do some work there? Because community payback can paint play equipment and do those kind of maintenance tasks. They just can't do the safety aspects and all those weekly inspections, and they happen legally anyway by Somerset Council. So it's only the kind of beautification that needs to happen, isn't it?
Yes, because I know Sterney Furlough has been travel approved.
Yeah, Councillor Tom Deacon really fought for that and has worked to make that happen.
There's that bit on the edge of the Prizewood Park. Yeah, so yeah, looking at them, I'm not entirely sure why we would take them on. So
I think
yeah, I think once we've got the community fed,
Ed's, yeah.
once we've got a community payback helping us out, those issues might go away. So Ed and Adrian. Oh, you said, sorry, you said it. Adrian.
Adrian's got this.
The little extension to Prizewood, we did look at that because that would give us more capacity on the playing field to put another football pitch in there, which would be serviced from the pavilion, which obviously then would have a bit of income generation as well for us. That was just an option I'd like to put out there. That there was that option there as well.
Yes, I think that'd probably be in the one Dublin, and I would be interested in. I'm not sure about the. So we take them one at a time. Yeah. So recommendation 1, I would propose we reject. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Furman. All those in favour? Okay. Recommendation 2, recommend to full council that subject to agreeing the principal office be authorised to undertake the necessary due diligence, detailed costings, insurance checks and draft to form a final adoption decision. Is that something we would need to do for a future and have in the back pocket?
No, so you would, if you rejected number 1, you'd reject number 2 as well.
Okay, so I propose to reject recommendation number 2. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Fanning, all those in favour? Right, so we just. So the only one we're going to accept is item 4, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I propose we reject recommendation 3. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Berman. All those in favour? So we would endorse the preparation of a draft land adoption policy to guide future decisions consistently across the town. Yeah, so you want to propose that?
I'll propose that.
Seconder? All those in favour? Okay. Great. Lovely. That is it. Thank you very much. It wasn't